Just a minute. It's still thinking. Just a minute. Still thinking. Go.
Good evening and welcome to the League of Women Voters of Greater Tuscaloosa's 2024 Meet Your Legislators Night. We are thrilled to have members of our Tuscaloosa delegation here with us this evening. This is an annual event where they get a chance to introduce themselves to constituents, and we get to ask a few great questions. So the first thing we're hoping to have folks do tonight, we've got member submitted questions. And the first thing we want to have folks do tonight is introduce yourself, tell us where your district is located geographically, and share briefly about one issue that you're hopeful the legislature will make progress on this session. Would anyone like to start off?
I'll go.
Yes, good evening. This is Senator Gerald Allen.
Senator Allen.
It's a privilege to be a part of this program, and it's an annual event, and thank the League of Women for hosting this event. Very important. My Senate district covers the entire county of Pickens and parts of Tuscaloosa County, and which has a population roughly around 160,000 citizens in this Senate district. Good to be here. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you. Is there an issue that you're hopeful that the legislature will make progress on this session?
Certainly, I think school choice is an item that everyone has been looking to review and have the opportunity to vote on a very important piece of legislation, and that's one. Certainly, it's going to be a hearty, healthy debate in this as well. But I do think that it is time to pass a solid piece of legislation like school choice.
All right. Thank you, Senator Allen.
Thank you.
Representative Bolton, it seemed like you were ready to go.
Sure, I'm ready to go. I'm Ron Bolton. I'm in District 61 of the House, and that covers the northwest Tuscaloosa County up to Fayette, and then the upper two-thirds of Pickens County all the way to Mississippi. About, well, I'm going to say 47,000 residents, 765 square miles. So we've got a lot of territory to cover. Most of my district is rural, with the exception of the city of Northport. And a lot of the issues that I pay attention to are small town rural issues, and like rural health care and the lack of. Right now, we're in the process of trying to put together some programs over in my Pickens County portion of my district to make sure they got our ambulance service solidified. We've got some shortages over there, but there will be a number of various approaches that I take as the session develops to try to supplement things like that.
Excellent. Thank you, Representative Bolton.
Okay, I'll be next. I'm Bill Lamb. I represent House District 62. It's basically south of 2059. Coming into Tuscaloosa from 69 south in Moundville, you're in my district. If you're coming to Tuscaloosa through from Duncanville, Moundville areas, 88 to 82 coming in from Montgomery, all the way up to I-20 coming into Tuscaloosa County from Jefferson County. Represent approximately 49,000 citizens. My area is probably more rural than it is urban, but I do have Lakeview and Vance, Colin, Cottondale. Those are my districts.
All right. Is there an issue that you are thinking the legislature will make progress on this session?
Well, I'm on Ways and Means, so I'm coming from a fiscal background, so I emphasize budgets and everything rotates around the money in the budget. So that's where all the issues will permeate from that too. So that's going to be my primary areas of concern.
Great, thank you.
We're glad to go next. I'm Cynthia Almond, and I represent District 63, which is starting in the northern end of it, everything north of the river city of Tuscaloosa. So think from Reston Place out to Lake Tuscaloosa and areas around the lake. It catches a little sliver of the city of Northport before it crosses the river. Get all of the university area from Lurleen Wallace west to McFarland East and down to 15th Street. And then it jumps over south of Snow Hinton Park, hit Idlewood and some of those neighborhoods in there, and it goes down to the interstate from there. So a little section through there. So that's my district. It's mostly urban. Well, it's all urban actually, and mostly city of Tuscaloosa with the little bit of sliver in Northport. Lots of interesting issues that should be on the table this year. One of the ones that I hope to be a part of will be what I believe the governor will emphasize is workforce development, trying to get more able-bodied people on the payrolls in our state. And I will have a bill for workforce housing and to incentivize the private sector to build workforce housing. So that's something I actually started with last year, and we will continue it this year. So that's one issue.
Thank you, Representative Almond.
And I'm glad. Thank you for hosting.
Good evening. I'm Curtis Travis, representing House District 72, which is all of Hale County, all of Greene County, portions of Bibb County that splits the town of Centerville and Brett using the Cahaba River, and then southern Tuscaloosa County, which includes Ralph Foster, 69 South area around Shelton State and Hillcrest, in front of Hillcrest High School. And then I have a little town of Tuscaloosa where I come in by they come in by Tamco Roofing and come up the railroad track to 15th Street, and then come down 15th Street to Martin Luther King, and down Martin Luther King till it gets to Martin Luther King Elementary School, then jumps over and takes that and it goes back out to Cover Road. In the area that probably for my district that I'll be focusing on and concentrating on will be dealing with the issue of gaming, sports betting, and lottery.
Great, thank you. Representative McCampbell, I know you were just joined us. We're doing introductions of kind of the district you serve in or the area you serve in, and then also an issue that you think the legislature might make progress on this session.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for hosting. I'm on the road, so I guess you can
We see that.
barely see me, but I serve District 71. That's a portion of Marengo, all of Sumter, a portion of Pickens, and the western. I come in to Tuscaloosa through Pickens County. So I have a western part of Tuscaloosa coming into and through Northport. And then I have the rest of the western side of Tuscaloosa city proper. Legislation I'm probably going to look at this year is I'm first of all going to try to do something with these warranty, home warranty companies, and truth and something with the. I have a couple of bills I'm doing for the Dental Association that will deal with the licensing and the fees of out-of-state dentists that may come in for philanthropic periods of time in the state.
All right, thank you so much. All right, to move into our issue-based questions for the evening, we welcome input from anybody from the delegation on all of these. There are no timers, there are no requirements to answer though, so feel free to speak on the topics that speak to you and to pass on the ones that don't, or if a colleague has already kind of covered your perspective. For this first one, we do expect that Senator Allen might have some insights though as a bill author on the question. As you know, the League strongly advocates for voting and voting rights. The League of Women Voters of Alabama has expressed concern that a pre-filed bill, SB 1, if passed, could curtail the ease with which people can apply for absentee ballots by severely limiting the assistance they can receive, and will criminalize many of those who provide assistance as the League does. Do you support this bill? Why or why not? Are there other impending bills that will affect voting rights and laws in Alabama? What more do we need to know about that?
Certainly, SB1 is a very important piece of legislation, and it will strengthen the absentee process, absentee voting for our citizens. And it's one of the basic principles of this piece of legislation. It will not hinder you as a citizen to assist someone that wants to carry out this constitutional right to vote. So the bill that does limit some things that you cannot be involved in paying volunteers to do the work for you as far as collecting ballots and harvesting ballots of that nature. But it is a good piece. It will add some strength to it, and it should have no problem passing the state Senate once it's introduced.
Thank you. Are there additional comments?
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Go ahead.
When you read the bill, what is it that concerns you that you may not be able to do that you're currently able to do?
So this was a question submitted by membership, but I think it was, certainly the league members are not paid, but at tabling events and things like that, we've had applications for absentee ballots available and have kind of talked people through that process and that sort of thing. And so I don't have the bill in front of me, but I think there was concern that the provision of absentee ballots to voters by people who were not, there was carve outs for that, right? So family members, people in the same household, these sorts of things. But we didn't see where the league would have that ability to still do that, even though they're not paid members, of course.
And
If
I'm
that's not a
still,
concern, I'm glad to hear it. But
and I haven't seen the final one because I am still concerned about, the issues such as, healthcare nurses or people like that, where people can find who can assist them and, making sure that they are able to help, church members to be able to help the church members and stuff like that. And so I know as the bill was last year, in which it just criminalized a lot of people that's basically providing assistance from just a general health standpoint, and just from the standpoint of not on the ballot, but just getting the application. And I think that's, in this day and time, we should be finding every way with us having such limited methods, just only one day voting, not Saturday voting, nothing like that. We should be penalizing folks and making it more difficult to be able to cast the ballots and stuff.
And personally, I don't think it's a necessary bill at all. We have one of the best security systems in the United States in terms of our ballot security. There's been no evidence to where there's been anyone that's been indicted or caught selling in the ballots or harvesting in the ballots. I think this is a national piece that is being put out here. And there's nothing to say that we have that kind of voting fraud going on in this state. It's really an unnecessary piece. As the bill was written, as it was last year, I am totally against the bill. And I said to the new Secretary of State that I thought that was a bad first bill that he was coming with, that instead of opening it up and allowing citizens to be able to have a free access to the voting ballot, you're hindering people from that right to vote. And so if that bill has not changed, I will continue to fight against that bill in the Senate. And because now if people are out there paying somebody, then yeah, let's get rid of that. But we have no evidence that has happened in the state. We have no evidence to say that anyone is doing anything wrong with getting an application out with assisting any of our elderly people or anyone else. That free access to be able to do that, to give an application, should not be hindered, to allow for people to be able to go out. We should not criminalize this in terms of family members or anybody else that's outside the family who are doing a civic duty to try to help other people have that right to vote. So I'm against the bill as it was written last year. Until I see a different version, then I'm going to fight it.
Any other responses or opinions?
I just was going to add, and I'm not an expert on the bill, and so I shouldn't even be talking, but I had questions about the bill as well and read it, but it's been several weeks ago now. So one of the things I will say, I do believe that the bill that, and I don't know about SB1, maybe there's a separate one filed in the House. Gerald, you may know that, but the bill changed significantly last year from when it was initially dropped, Bobby, till where it is today. So I know there were some significant changes made, but you may still not like it, and that's fine. But I just,
Well, I mean, no one has showed me any of those changes. I'll be willing to look at the changes. I'm just
Sure.
going on because they haven't shared with me. Maybe they're sharing with you all on the Republican side, but they have not shared with us at this point to where that bill is. And the only bill that I know is the bill that we had last year that didn't get up in the Senate. Okay.
Okay.
That's the only one, right?
All right. Any other comments before we move to the next question? Okay. And actually, I'd like to pause, Senator Singleton. We have done introductions, so I want to give you the same opportunity. We've just briefly said kind of where the district is, so that folks listening in can identify if you are there, Senator, and then also an issue that you think the legislature will be able to successfully address this year.
Well, I'm Bobby Singleton. I represent Senate District 24 that represents Tuscaloosa County, that includes the western cluster of Tuscaloosa to the south, going back into Moundville. And my district go out to Bryant School, taking a narrow portion there, back into Greene County, Sumter County, Hale County, Marengo, all the way, Choctaw, all the way down to the Washington County line. So I have multiple counties in my district, which covers almost 600 square miles. And, right now, I think that, we can successfully do some great things. I think workforce development is going to be good for the state, in terms of being able to make sure that we got proper workforce to be able to fill the jobs that we're doing. I don't see a problem with coming with a lot of the workforce development bills that are going to be coming down the drain. But at the end of the day, I got my shoulder pads in my on, and I'm ready to block, because I know that there are going to be a lot of bills that are going to be coming, such as school choice. And I need to know what school choice, because school choice could mean differently for me in Hale County in the rural areas as it's differently in Tuscaloosa County. Okay. School choice is going to be there. I would love to see school choice with some accountability. I think that there are going to be bills like this ballot harvesting. There are going to be other bills that are going to be coming, such as critical race theory. And we still got to talk about all of those that are going to be coming up front, that's going to be coming at the Senate first. They might not necessarily go down to the House until later. But, I'm getting prepared to deal with those bills and to be able to sit down with my colleagues and talk about them and see, can we get them worked out? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving right along to the next question. During past legislative sessions and past legislative forums like this, healthcare has been a major topic of discussion. What can we expect this session, perhaps in terms of Medicaid expansion, mental health support, and maternal health resources specifically? What are we likely to see?
Well, one thing I've heard some talk about for sure is on the mental health side with the 988 service, they're wanting to, I think they're going to come again with a bill to increase surcharge on phones, cell phones, to fund that. Last time my position was, and still is, that I don't think it's something that we need to put another tax on folks for the cell phone out here with it. I think they're probably in good enough shape, but we'll just have to take a look and see. I know the 911 boards at the state level should be able to help with that. And I'm just waiting to see what they drop on that. But that's one area of issue. Another one we have, and last time we tried to take a bill through in budget, and it didn't quite make it all the way through the Senate, to fund opening an adolescent mental health care center over at the Old Pickens County Hospital. And that's always a priority to try to get that, because mental health, working with Children's Hospital and the Department of Mental Health, there's a shortage of beds for adolescent care. And we need to be right on top of that to try to get these children into care as quickly as possible because they get to be adults and we haven't given them any assistance. And, you know, they continue to get themselves in trouble or have various other problems and, you know, throughout their life.
Thank you. Other thoughts on bills we might see?
Well, I know that there have been some talk on how do we deal with, I guess for the lack of a better word, in-state, in-house Medicaid expansion. There have been some conversations with Blue Cross and others about how do we expand that to look at the workers. I think there's about 300,000 Alabamians that are out there working every day that does not have any medical care. And so we're looking at how do we be able to ensure those people and making sure that we have a healthy workforce. That is something that's still being worked out. It has not been completed, has not been put in a bill form, but I do know that that is conversation. The other side is that we'll be looking at expanding telehealth. You'll see some bills on telehealth that will be coming up, trying to make sure that in some of these rural corners of the state that we get some access to telehealth. Now that we're expanding broadband across into some of our rural areas, and now we may be able to get some telehealth services out. I know that there's a couple of pilots that's going up in Hale, Greene, and Sumter County through the Auburn Extension right now that we're looking at and trying to get those out in terms of pilots in those communities in the more rural areas so where people can have some access to telehealth. So I know that, and there are going to be some more expanded bills on mental health also. And I'm not sure, I know of the one that we was talking about on the tax, and I'm not sure that will all of the bills be looking at tax. There are others who are going to be expanding services on mental health. And so I look forward to working with the sponsors on those bills in terms of support.
One thing that I did leave out of my conversation too, and this is particularly pertinent to AJ's district, there is a good solid backing, I think, coming in behind the Demopolis Healthcare Training Center, the Rural Healthcare Training Center. I was on the phone today listening to some people talk positively about it. I will hope that they were able to pull that on through there and keep it in Demopolis because there's, like everything else, whenever there are big towns involved, everybody else wants your money. But we need that school in the rural because I'm losing doctors in my district. I know AJ is losing doctors in his district, and Curtis is also. And we need to have access to healthcare. I mean, it's just out in some of our areas, the access to healthcare is a problem because we've got rural places where I've got one ambulance running in an entire county, and when it comes over to DCH, then we don't have any ambulance transport. So we've got a lot of things that we have to deal with there, but it's going to have to start with medical personnel.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know if we lost AJ or not, but I do expect it to be one of the governor's top 3 priorities, and that is getting that healthcare school up and running and hopefully in Demopolis. And it will look a lot like the other state schools we have, such as School of Fine Arts in Birmingham, School of Math and Science in Mobile, and whatever we call the one in Huntsville, which is our newest one. This would be a 4th similar type school, but it would focus on healthcare. So it's pretty exciting, and certainly hope that, we'll all be working together, I think, as a team to make sure we do our part in getting that across the finish line.
Great, thank you. Any other final thoughts on what we're likely to see related to healthcare in terms of Medicaid expansion, mental health support, maternal health resources, or other things?
Well, on maternal health, I will probably bring in a bill back, and I know it got stalled in the Senate for standalone birthing centers in the Black Belt and in rural areas for midwives. And so that is a hot topic. I know the Department of Health brought out some new rules for midwifery across the state that really doesn't necessarily support the standalone sterilization centers, but we're going to still try to push that piece of legislation out again because we are losing OBGYNs in our rural hospitals and some of the areas where mothers are having to travel so much for just to be able to birth a child in prenatal care is something that we're not getting in some of the rural areas. So that is something that I definitely will be bringing back again to try to get some more conversations about.
Thank you. Okay, so to move on to a topic that at least two of you have already mentioned, Governor Ivey strongly supports K-12 education savings accounts, or ESAs, which would be funded by the state and used by parents for specific expenses related to school choice. Presumably, this would divert money in the education fund that would otherwise be available to public schools. Do you support the state funding of ESAs, and how would you protect funding to public schools if ESA programs are created?
Okay, I'll jump in. The school choice and ESA accounts, to me, I've been kind of watching the push for full school choice, and I've said this many times. If you ask 40 citizens out here what school choice is, you're going to get about 15 different answers. And education savings accounts are just one way to approach that. But what I have to see myself, and I spoke to someone today about that, is I have to see that we're holding the people that are administering the ESA accounts, that they're being held to the same standard that my public school teachers are being held to. In other words, and the way I explain that is, if we're going to use the argument that my public schools are not making the grade, and we're going to use this particular standard to judge them, which is right now, it's the standardized testing model, I'm going to have to see that same testing model applied to everyone across the board in order for us to justify that. That's my position. And the second thing is, last year, in last session, we hit the ETF pretty hard. Everybody wanted, refunds. There's a lot of money floating around there. A lot of it came from the federal resources, but everybody wanted to give money back, which we did. We gave a refund back, and then we went and we cut off one quarter of the grocery tax. And then we went into overtime pay, and we cut it until 2025. So I'm looking for the Education Trust Fund to be flat. And I just, we've already got demands for that we fund already, and I've just got to see if this is going to pass. It's going to, in my opinion, it's going to be phased in on a limited basis until we can find time when the ETF can get back up, because I don't want to go in and say that we're going to take X number of dollars out. I mean, they were talking last year about giving $6,900 to every eligible family. And, the way I had that figured out and everything, it's just, that's a heck of an impact if you don't limit it. And we just got to make sure that we're not penalizing my public school systems.
Thank you.
That didn't sound very Republican, did it?
Yeah.
Well,
I love it.
I think Dr. Singleton and Ron hit on it. I do think the cornerstone of the school choice piece has got to be accountability, and to be sure to do that, make sure that the tax dollars that is sent to us to do this is adequate, looked at carefully, and make sure it's spent in a way where across the board is fair to everyone. But being accountable for this is vital. That must be done. So that's a very important piece to look at.
And I think that, personally, we already have school choice. You got a parent could choose to go to private school, they could choose to go to public school, they could choose to go to charter schools, or they could choose to homeschool. We already have school choice. Now what we're doing essentially is just saying that we're going to finance that for people to be able to do that. And on the finance side is that we passed the Accountability Act. We went into the Accountability Act. We upgraded the Accountability Act. Now we're giving each family that want to move $10,000, and we're leaving only $6,700 coming back into that failing school per pupil there. And when we do that, I want to make sure in this school choice that we're not able to stack accountability and school choice money together. And so that you can either choose one or the other, and that you're not stacking money, because if they're going to get $7,000 on the school choice and $10,000 under accountability, that's $17,000 that could go to a child if we don't put those accountability measures and make it very, very clear in terms of what it is. I also agree with with my House member that, you know, we got to make sure that they're taking the same safeguards in terms of testing, making sure that they're not doing anything different than any other public school child is doing, that they're graded the same, they're taking the same testing. And when we start talking about children with disability, if you're going to take some public school money, then you have to take those kids with disability also, if they so choose to go to them. And private schools right now does not have a means of taking kids with disability, and neither does charter schools right now. And so if you're going to take the ERS money, you need to take the kids with disability just as well as any other child that's out there. I think that's only fair, and that if you're going to take the money, you must take them all.
Yeah.
And I'm full in agreement with that. Being an educator and daughter is, I really worry about where we are now, and I don't feel like we're really still sufficiently meeting the financial needs of education that we need to be. You know, we got the literacy test, and you know, we need to be putting more into our kindergarten, first and second grade, because, you know, waiting the kids get to third grade, we need to be focusing on that and making sure that we are doing what we're doing to prevent, to help put in where they're not failing when the third grade comes. We also need to look at, you know, how we're going to deal with that and limit it, you know, because one of the things that from the Arizona case that I've kind of followed on that, they talked about how they passed it, the school choice building, when the next year rolled around, basically all the parents that were in private school reached out and grabbed the dollars, and so it ended up sucking a lot of money away from the education budget. And we got to make sure we're not faced with all this too. You know, I know Ron mentioned the standpoint of the overtime pay bill, which we have not yet seen the impact of that because it just went in place on January 1. So we got the overtime pay bill in other areas, and then, you know, and then with the economy, we just got to make sure. And I just think a little ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, so that we can slowly figure it, and then again, of course, come to a unique agreement where everybody understands what we're talking about. Because, you know, my school choice is that any public school student can entitled to attend any public school of their choice that they want to in the state of Alabama, as long as they may have to step in and provide transportation and help meet meal requirements. So if somebody wants to go to Mountain Brook, and they're welcome to go and everything. So that'll be my standpoint of school choice, anywhere they want to go, but just taking and redirecting funds out to people from education savings account, and particularly with folks that are at the homeschool, that doesn't add up to me. We need to have accountability, and we need to make sure we're building strong public schools, because when we're facing these issues right now, when we're talking about workforce development, having workers, then it's only going to be the public school model that's going to help us get those in a large part to meet the majority of the needs. So I'm just cautious about how fast and how quickly we go down that road.
Thank you. Any final thoughts on education savings accounts or school choice?
Well, I'll make a comment that I think we'll see some kind of legislation, but as Representative Bolton says, nobody knows what that looks like right now. But I think we've heard from everybody who made this point that accountability is a key component to it. If it doesn't have good accountability, then it's not probably going to be successful. But we certainly don't want to harm our public schools in any way.
Okay. All right. Our next question is, recently the Black Belt has been the focus of discussions on how to improve its economy and well-being of its citizens. For example, the development of a 4-lane West Alabama corridor between Tuscaloosa and Mobile has been debated for some years. Would you support funding for this new roadway? And do you think such a road would benefit Tuscaloosa County?
I'll go first, absolutely, and we'll fight it to the turf.
I'll go second, absolutely, and I'm right there in the 10 with him. We're gonna fight it.
Well, I think that's the area that you'll find complete consensus on that. I think we will all support that.
Okay, glad to have at least one of those.
Long overdue, because the rural Alabama has been basically left out in so many years and so many different projects. So it's long overdue, and something that we must do, because the economic impact that it will have on those communities is very vital for every citizen that lives in the Black Belt. So this is a very important piece.
Yeah, I was just at a joint transportation committee meeting last week. And in that joint transportation committee meeting, one of my colleagues from North Alabama talked about the final 4-laning of 52. And she was touting what a benefit it would be for that area to finally have access, 4-lane access for to an interstate. And this is basically the same thing coming through West Alabama.
Very well said.
And then I think too, on top of that, people, with what's going on in the port of Mobile, the expansion, deepening of the port, and the resources that the goods that'll be shipped in, and the availability thing that it has helped creating that opportunity. So having the access, the road to steadily be able to move goods and services really help create and even create some of the type of jobs that people in the Black Belt communities can work and everything. You know, if you get an employer there, employ 50, 75 folks, that's a big deal in many of these Black Belt counties. So if we could make those type of things happen, it'd be really great for those areas.
Not only that, Curtis, you make a good point, because we have MPUSI, the Mercedes plant, and you know, we can use that route, shipping those vehicles to the port where they go worldwide. So that's one of the big advantages that this highway will serve industry, and the impact it will have.
Thank you. Any final comments on that? I'm glad to hear we're all in favor. It's good to have.
I've got a related issue dealing with the highways. As you know, Senator Richard Shelby was able to bring $100 million to Tuscaloosa for on the river bridge on McFarland, and to expand that and to make it improved, and at the same time, the total cost on that is going to be somewhere around $140 million once it gets started. Although it's going to be a 3-year project, so that's going to be a benefit for citizens, not only for Tuscaloosa County, but citizens who travels to Tuscaloosa for ball games or for tourism, whatever it may be. So that's going to be a great asset for us once we get completed that bridge project.
Thank you for that addition. It's great news. Okay. In 2023, the state tax on groceries was reduced by 1% from 4% to 3%. Do you think this tax will be reduced further in the foreseeable future, or is that something that's off the table?
Yeah, it's still on the table, but I don't think it's going to happen, because I think revenue is going to be flat. And we had what was that, Senator? Was it 3.5% gain benchmark that we used, and you're just not going to see that growth right now. Strongest just probably be, what would you say, probably 3 years out before we'll see that benchmark hit, maybe.
It's got to grow by 3.5, and I don't think we'll see that.
I probably wouldn't put it in my grocery budget anytime soon.
Right.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. It feels a little strange to ask an Alabama prisons question without Representative England present. I feel like he is usually the one who takes these up, but in his absence, he sent his regrets tonight. In his absence, maybe you all can weigh in. Is there impending legislation directed at reducing violence in Alabama's prisons this year?
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
Yes. Is there impending legislation or expected legislation directed at reducing violence in Alabama's prisons?
Yes, there will be. I sit on the prison oversight board with Representative England, and I also sit on the SIPA board that with the prison construction. And there is a meeting with Governor Ivey next week that we're going to meet with her to talk about the violence and how we're going to approach it. The bill has not been developed yet, but we have a basic format on what we're looking for. And I apologize that we are bound not to share it right now, but at the end of the day, there will definitely be something to look at it coming.
Excellent. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. Sort of switching gears, this one isn't so much issue-based as it is sort of lawmaking and constituent services. The League of Women Voters of Alabama's Alabama channel has been recording, archiving, and making Alabama's legislative meeting recordings searchable by transcript since 2022 as a tool for engagement and accountability. If you've engaged with this tool or had constituents engaged with it, is there feedback you'd like to share? Are there other ways you'd encourage constituents to stay informed and get in touch with you?
Get in touch with us. Well, I'm pretty open about this, and all these guys here will tell you everybody in the Southeast has got my cell phone number. So I'm good. 205-242-9896. As long as you please make it pertinent to business, I'll try to take care of what I can for.
Okay.
I would agree. I mean, for me, either a text or an email is the easiest way to get to me. I do regret that, we have telephone numbers at the State House, but honestly, if we go away for the weekend, we come back, we might have 300 call messages on our, machine, and then we can't get through all that. So it's basically useless. And so I don't encourage people to call me on that at all. I will not get the message. But you can Google Cynthia Almond and get all my telephone numbers, and they're everywhere. So, but cell phone or email is great.
Same here.
And I try to keep up on social media also from time to time to post relevant things that we're doing. So,
Same here. My telephone number's public, and email, text, whatever's convenient. I think most all of us try to be as accessible and accountable as we possibly can. So we encourage you to contact us, especially if you got, something that's coming up that legislation may be introduced that we have no idea about, that you'd like to talk to us about. Please do it early and quickly. We'd like to hear from you.
and if I could add to, from time to time, we get people, we get lots of emails on a particular issue, and when that happens, it makes it almost impossible to respond to every email individually. So I apologize in advance, and I'm sure my colleagues feel the same way. If somebody's emailing me individually about an issue, I try to always respond. I won't say I'm 100%, but I try to do that. It does get overwhelming when we have a lot of people emailing. So if you want to weigh in on an issue that you feel like a lot of other people are weighing in on, if you can just put some personal information in there, make the email a little bit different from all the other 300 emails we're getting, and say I live in your district and my name is, and that helps to set you apart. So that helps me a lot.
That's great guidance. Thank you.
And I would say it's available the same way, which is supported by my cell phone and text, but also encourage them, if you want to keep up what's going on when we got house sessions on, you can always view stream, the live stream, and you can keep up with that. And they got a couple of pretty good resources, such as Alabama Reflector and some other paper dailies that kind of keep abreast of what some of the things going on too. So they can always seek those resources out too, to kind of keep us informed of what's going on and everything. But as you said, when we get those group text group emails or form emails, so to say, and everything. To be honest about it, after reading one of them, they're all the same. I just pretty much delete, because that becomes the issue of just trying to manage our mailboxes.
Okay. I think that's a great segue into our next question, which is about a specific demographic. So as elected officials, you all are at the heart of the electoral process. Although the Secretary of State tells us that a large percentage of people who qualify are registered to vote, we sense tremendous apathy among young voters. Why bother? What message should we try to get out to convince them? And what are you all doing to encourage higher voter turnouts and engagement among young people? They're unlikely to call you on your phones, but the texting and social media offers are great. How else can we motivate them and engage them?
I will just say I have regularly requests from young people to either shadow me for the day or just come to a committee meeting or even come to my law office, during in the off season to talk about what we do. They're interested, and while you don't cover a lot of people that way, I do try to touch people as they come to me and involve them in any way that I can. I have about 3 different people right now who are planning to come to Montgomery, and they're young people. One's at Auburn, and the other 2 are here at Alabama, and so I welcome that, and I know my colleagues do too. But otherwise, involve them in our campaigns when it's campaign time, and anytime there's a project or something I can get them involved in, I try to do that as well. They're great help.
Well, I work with kids.
Go ahead.
I
I'm
work
sorry.
with
Go
kids
ahead.
all the time. In the summer, I host STEM camps, reading academies on Saturdays. So we're regularly dealing with kids. I also have a leadership group in some of my schools with groups of 50 kids that are carrying them on a trip each month, getting them involved, letting them understand the electoral process. I had kids at the State House during this summer talking to staff and going through the legislative process, bringing them on the Senate floor and in the House floor, just letting them see what we do down in Montgomery. And so just trying to engage, get focus groups and about what young people are thinking about and trying to address those issues that they are. So I'm still engaged with kids all the time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Senator, you've done an unbelievable job. You have a busy summer. And I mean, certainly you need to share with our host on what type of summer you do. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Well, thank you, Gerald. I appreciate that. As I say, myself, Representative Travis and Representative McCampbell also assist me in hosting about 300 kids at Stillman over the summer for a 6-week summer camp that we bring kids in over Stillman from Tuscaloosa, Hill, Sumter, Greene, and Perry counties around the Black Belt areas. And we carry kids on trip every Friday somewhere in state or out of state to visit industry or some university, trying to keep them involved. And again, also with that, and plus we pay these kids to come to this camp. They build projects. This year they were able to come in and build an app that would bring a solution to an issue that they see in their community. So we're doing app-based training, robotics. We're bringing in coding this summer. And plus, again, we have the Leadership Academy where we have 50 kids from each one of the schools in my district basically going on trips. And also with the Saturday Academy, we do where we have retired teachers and teachers coming out. It's on the reading initiative, in the math, on the numeracy act, and making sure that we can make sure our babies are not failing the 3rd grade and the 4th grade on numeracy and math. So those are things that we're doing around the district, just trying to stay involved with our young people.
Great.
Well, that's a fabulous effort that you're making with that and making an impact. But one of the things I feel like that each of us could probably do better, and that is to go into these elementary, middle schools, high schools, and be a guest speaker for a club or a class or senior class or whatever it may be. But I do think that we're missing an opportunity to not be more active in our schools with that. And so that's one thing I feel like that could help as well.
It's a great insight. Thank you. Any other thoughts on engaging young folks in the political process?
And
Okay.
and we have our page process too. I know the Democratic caucus, we're hoping to be able to involve like students from Alabama State this year to get involved and to work to be in the state house on the house side to have the exposure, so that people along that road and they're thinking careers such as business or something that may include law, that they will consider the political implications and what may be possible for them.
Excellent. Those sound like great
Plus,
options.
the Alabama Law Institute gives most of us a intern, and I know from the Democratic side and on the Republican side, we all get interns with kids that we bring in, that we could bring in to try to get them engaged into the political process and just letting them understand how the process works. And when kids come around, they really find it very exciting. I know I got 2 kids from Alabama State that are from the Hill County in the Marengo County area that will be shadowing me when we start our session this year. And it's a part of a grade that they need, the students at Alabama State University, but they're our kids from our area, and they'll be doing a shadow with me starting February 5th.
Great opportunities for students.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we have reserved a healthy amount of time for our final question. As we wrap up, what do you see being different in the legislature this year, either in terms of bills that might make progress or how the legislature works together overall? What can we expect? The big question, so take it in any direction you please.
We know last session, I don't know, I guess you could call it for us freshmen coming in, it was a honeymoon session. So we had a really good working relationship with people across the aisle. And in fact, I think we had reached an accord on several bills that actually went unanimous or were right close. Anyway, myself, I don't see any change to that. I'm still in the process of building relationships. A lot of people I already knew, and I like to be able to work for solutions is what I like to do. I like to have a problem there that we can get together and we can work out a solution that's amicable for everyone.
Well, first, I like to brag on this delegation. I think that, we have the strongest delegation in Montgomery. The Birmingham delegation doesn't work well. The Mobile delegation doesn't work as well as we do. Montgomery, Tuscaloosa delegation, in as much as all of us are not from the Tuscaloosa area, we also live outside of Tuscaloosa, but we are on one accord as the Tuscaloosa delegation. And when we have an agenda, we make sure that we are all on one accord to make that work. So I'm proud to work with these ladies and gentlemen as a Tuscaloosa delegation as we work through our issues that we have in the western cluster of this state.
Just keep your eyes on that western bypass.
I'm all over that,
the
baby.
unity. No, I was telling Jackie, she'll see the unity.
Yeah.
And I'll take quick trips to the beach. It'll be great. Yes.
Well, as a freshman, I agree with Senator Singleton. I think we have probably a unique situation here in the Tuscaloosa delegation in that we do all get along, and most importantly, we all communicate, and I think we all have our citizens' best interests at heart. So I'm proud and honored to be able to work with this group, and we want to represent you, the citizens of Tuscaloosa, with all our efforts. So thank you for this opportunity.
I would say, since we don't have a redistricting bill to deal with this session, I think we can that there will be hopefully that people will not base stuff so much on partisan issues, and that we look out, overall for the state, that people get to know and have gotten to know each other, that we can seriously work for the best and what's good the citizens and not get hyped upon, that what party I'm from and stuff like that. We need to work, work and recognize that we are there to represent the people, and we're there to try to make sure that the people have sent us there to do a job, and that we do the job so that we can have positive things going forward in Alabama. And if we, focus on that, I think we're going to, like this Tuscaloosa delegation has done, I think we can set a leadership tone throughout the state and for the Southeast. But it's just going to take that. If people just decide that, hey, we're going to do what's good and what's right for the people of Alabama, we will see a lot of progress.
Absolutely, Curtis. That's very well said. And looking at what has taken place, one of the things that took place in 2010 was that we passed a piece of legislation that prevented us from having a prorated type budget. Prior year budgeting has been a winner for our state, and certainly developing good, sound public policy is one of the things that not only our delegation has stuck together in developing good, sound policies that affects every single citizen in this state. The 5.2 million citizens has seen the effects of good policies that we have been a part of. So that's saying a whole lot, because Tuscaloosa has been blessed to have an excellent delegation. So we've been blessed.
I'd like to say that Gerald Allen is the first person to get to the State House in the morning time. He gonna beat everybody that I've been trying to beat Gerald for the last 20 years to the State House to be the first one. And I can't beat him there. He never sick. I be saying that Gerald gonna feel bad one day and I can beat him to the State House. But if he's first, I'm usually second. And so, and Gerald and I get together on the Senate floor and we'll work together and talk about things early in the morning. We may not always agree on subject matters all the time, but we have a mutual respect for each other in the Senate, and we try to work for the betterment of our area. And Gerald never let me miss out on anything that's going on in Tuscaloosa or anywhere around the district. So I really appreciate working with Gerald in that vein and trying to get things done.
Absolutely. And Senator, you came in 98 and I came in 94, and it's been a pleasure working with you and working some very important pieces. And you've been in the center of all those pieces. So I want to thank you for all the things that you've done.
Great to hear.
Just our little kumbaya session there. Okay?
Yes, the collegiality and all. I think a lot of Alabamians, a lot of Tuscaloosans don't know about the way that folks work across the aisle and work as a delegation, right? And so I do think it's appropriate to take time to kind of highlight some of that work. Anything else you want folks at home to know about what y'all are prioritizing moving into the session this next week?
I think the budgets is going to be something that you're going to hear a lot about because of what has taken place. I think 2 or 3 of the members have already spoken about the effects of the grocery tax on the ETF, and that it's we do have $356 million in the supplemental on the general fund, and we do have $651 million in ETF. And those are going to be pieces of legislation that you're going to be hearing about early in the session. And certainly that's going to be a very important how we disperse those funds. And of course, we do have $1.750 million in the Advancement in Technology Fund. And you're going to be hearing a little bit more about that, all the K through 12, post-secondary, and the higher education. You're going to see those funds go to to help with our technology, and so that's going to be a vital discussion for us. And but our budgets are in great shape, and so we're very blessed to know that we're going to keep pushing good, solid, sound piece of legislation that to make sure that citizens know that their tax dollars is being dealt with, handled in such a way where no waste is involved.
And one of the other things that you're going to see, and I think we didn't discuss, is school safety. There are going to be some bills that's coming about school safety and how we protect our babies and our scholars at our schools. That's going to be huge in terms of this education package and how we get this money out to be able to get more resource officers in our school. A lot of our school systems are having to pay for that out of local dollars. And when you look at the foundation program, it requires a minimum of 10 meals. And a lot of our rural schools in our area, even right there in Tuscaloosa County, they only have a 10 meal tax that goes into the foundation program. In Hale County, Greene, and other counties in our surrounding area only have a 10 meal. And so it's very difficult for them to bring on extra resources when the tax bases are not there. So it's going to be important that we help fund that to make sure that we keep our babies safe in terms of school safety. And also you'll see another one to make sure that we get assistant principals in all of our school systems. Same thing with assistant principals. Most of those assistant principals are being funded out of local dollars. And that helped with the discipline in our school. Because right now, if you only have a principal in most of these schools, if the principal is out sick, some of these schools, the school clerk is running the schools. And so we got to make sure that we get more assistant principals, lowering that divisor to make sure that we can get that 200, 250 people under so that we'll be able to finance getting more assistant principals in that school safety. And I definitely want to support those bills as they come around to make sure that we be able to protect our babies in our school systems.
And I think
Absolutely.
finally we're going to probably see some bills relating to the newest issue that we're going to face more of in the future, but it's actually here now. And that's this AI. AI can be good and it can be used very dangerously. So it's that area that we're going to probably see some legislation that will start trying to address the problems that AI will present in the very immediate future and the future yet to be.
Great.
Let me go back to the budget issue as well. Just give you a quick glance in our savings accounts. We have two savings accounts. The ETF, the Education Trust Fund, has $726 million in its account. In the State General Fund, we have $326 million. And certainly we pray that the sky won't fall on us, but there's something there that just in the event that something does happen, that we do have a safeguard that we can go to, a savings account that we can plug into. But certainly it's my hope that we can keep adding to this savings account, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. So that's a plus, and goes back to developing good, sound policies. And I just want to thank the delegation for doing what they're doing.
And Gerald, you're absolutely right, because we're running out of these federal dollars, these ARPA funds and other federal dollars that we've got. They're going to have a shelf life of 2026. Medicaid is going to be asking for about $950 some odd million this year. And also, when we look at prison construction has gone up from the first $600 million that we talked about to over $1.02 billion for one prison. We haven't even started on the construction of the second one. And then the second phase of that was supposed to be in renovation in close down of some other facilities. Our prison population went from 2015 down to from 20,000 inmates down to about 15,000. Now, since COVID, we're back up to around 19,800 because our courts has opened up again, and we're seeing more people being incarcerated across the state. So we're going to have those issues that we're going to definitely have to deal with, not only this year, but in the next 4 or 5 years. We're dealing with how do we get control of our state prisons and population, and also making sure that it is safe.
Thank you. Any other issues on your minds before we wrap up?
I'll just add that, our City of Tuscaloosa School Board has requested us to authorize enabling legislation for them to have a tax referendum vote later this year. So that's something else we'll be dealing with as a local delegation first, since it's a local issue. It has to come through in the House. We have a committee, and then the Senate, each senator is his own committee. It has to get approval that way first, and then will be able to be put on the budget. So that's one thing we'll be dealing with locally as well.
Thank you. Any other final thoughts? If not, we can go ahead and wrap up for the evening. I want to once again thank our delegation for being here this evening, for talking with us, for taking time to answer questions about what's on the agenda. For folks watching at home, if this is of interest, if you're interested in candidate forums, legislative forums, voter registration and the like, check out the League of Women Voters at lwvtuscaloosa.org. You're welcome to any of our membership meetings. They're generally on Tuesdays, and we love to have new members and perspectives. So thanks again for being here. Thanks to folks watching at home, and everybody have a great evening. We're excited to see what happens this session.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.